Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week, well, I should start off by saying the painting I'm going to do has absolutely nothing to do with the opening part of this video. It was just a cool sunset that I saw. I videoed it and I thought I'd share it. But this week I did a couple of acrylic paintings. Now, I haven't done any acrylic painting for at least 3.5 years, and even then it was only a couple of paintings I did. I used to do more acrylic painting a long time ago, like 15-20 years ago, but recently no, I haven't been doing it. I think what I'm trying to say is I do have some experience with acrylic paint, but really not very much, and very little recent experience. So I'm sort of approaching it almost as being a new medium. Of all the mediums that I use these days, so charcoal, watercolor, soft pastels, and now acrylic as well, they all have their own little sort of characteristics. There are things that you can do with charcoal that you couldn't do with watercolor paint, and vice versa, for example. And one of the reasons I'm attracted to using acrylic paint is it allows me to do sort of impasto style painting, and it also it sort of preserves the brushwork, so you can see the brush marks and the brushwork in the final painting, or at least the style of painting that I do. And that's really what attracts me to the acrylic paint. Obviously with the two dry media, the charcoal and the pastels, there's no brushes involved, so there's no brushwork, and you certainly can't do impasto style painting with those two medium. And the same with watercolor. Okay, with watercolor you can use like dry brush techniques and get some brush marks, but again you can't really do impasto painting with watercolor paint. Now this acrylic paint that I'm using, I'll put all of the details, the paint names and so on down in the description box. But the acrylic paint I'm using is quite a thick paint. Some brands of acrylic paint are quite liquid, but this one, as you can see, the consistency is closer to, say, toothpaste. It's quite a thick paint. So it does allow for that sort of impasto style painting. Other things I can say, the brushes, I have no idea who makes the brushes or what size they are, anything like that. They're just some old, less than perfect brushes that I had lying around for about 20 years. And I'm painting onto cardboard. Now this isn't some clever decision or a well thought out thing. This is just necessity. I don't have any canvas. I don't have any stretched canvases. So one thing I do have is cardboard. And actually this piece of cardboard is just the back of an old sketchbook. It's just the backing from the sketchbook. I ripped it off and just used it to paint with. I haven't treated the cardboard in any way. I haven't put any gesso or anything like that on. It's just a plain piece of cardboard. Other things, again, I'm using a limited palette, same as I would if I was doing watercolor. And you can see the colors on the left there. There's basically two blues, a darker sort of purplish blue, the yellow and white. I don't really use I don't use at all the orange in this painting. And as you can see, I do a bit of mixing, but not a huge amount of mixing on the palette. It's just a habit I've got into with watercolor. I don't mix colors so much. As I've said in previous videos, some people really do get into the whole mixing thing. And that's fine if that's your style of painting. One potential issue with doing that is you'll lose, or you can lose, some of the vibrancy of the colours that come straight from the tube. And in the worst case scenario, you can end up with something that looks a bit sort of muddy. On the other hand, doing it the way I do, pretty much with unmixed colours, you end up with something that isn't true colour. It's not naturalistic. It's not very realistic. But that's fine with me, because I'm not a realist. I'm not a naturalistic sort of painter. I'm not trying to reproduce exact colours. I'm trying to use colours in a sort of artistic way. I'm as much interested in the aesthetic quality of the colours next to each other as I am in trying to get a realistic representation of the real world, if that all makes sense. So as I say, the main attraction of the acrylics was the ability to create paintings that have some impasto, and you can still see the brush marks after the painting is dried. And you can see in the sky, I tried to use that. I'm trying to get this idea of a sort of windswept sky. It's a summer sky, but there's some of those sort of fluffy white clouds you get in summertime sometimes, and they're being blown around. And of course, when you're using a new medium, or it's a medium that maybe you've used but a long time ago, there can be a little bit of hesitancy, a little bit of fear maybe. And I suppose even the same when you're getting started in the painting. And sometimes people, and I'm guilty of this myself as well, thinking that there is a right way to do it. And when you're getting started, you don't know the right way, but you go and look for teachers and gurus who can tell you the right way to do things. And if you go onto YouTube, you'll find lots and lots and lots of videos with titles like 5 things that you are doing wrong in watercolor, or that type of thing. My opinion, and I don't know if it's a good opinion, a bad opinion, but my opinion is that's a little bit deceptive, and I'm trying to choose the word carefully there, but it's an approach that advertisers have used for a long, long time. There's something about the human brain that we think there's a right way to do something, that kind of thing. So advertisers have used this sort of approach. You have a problem, but it just so happens that I have the solution to your problem, and for just $9.99 you can have that solution, that type of thing. In the case of YouTube, there's a huge amount of competition for views, and one way to try and increase your views, the number of people who are watching your videos, is to have sort of clickbaity titles, and things like 7 things that you're doing wrong. That sort of title resonates with a lot of people. It taps into that sort of psychological thing, that phenomenon that happens in our head, that we think we need to have to do things the right way. And so we have to find the person to teach us how to do it the right way. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe there isn't a right way to use acrylic paint, or a right way to use watercolor paint, or even a right way to do art. Maybe each of us has our own way of doing art and our own way of using paint. If you want to get rid of the brush and use your fingers, why not? Children do it. They're not worried about what's the right way to paint. So I don't know, there are different attitudes and approaches to art, and some people have this idea that art is something that it's a craft. It has to be learnt, and it's passed down from teacher to student type of thing, and there's a long tradition of the right way to do things. It's just not the way I look at art. But I guess we each have to choose which way we want to do it. I think the advantage of the way I think about it, and the way, not just me, but lots of other people think about it, that there is no one way, no right way. Everything is equally valid. It's more open. You don't have to do 10 years of practice and study before you're ready to produce art. You could just start doing it today if you wanted to. But anyway, that's enough of me preaching about art and things. Other things I can say about this painting. I tried to use aerial perspective to push back the hill in the background. So what I mean is I painted it in blue because blues tend to be recede back, and then the warmer colors tend to move forward. It's a generalization, but roughly speaking, that's sort of what happens in our head, our brains. So if you paint something with blue, it does sort of push it back. In the real world as well, distant hills tend to look slightly bluish compared to fields and things that are closer by. It's just an atmospheric effect. And also the value of those hills is close to parts of the sky, so again that tends to push everything backwards. In the foreground, I tried, like I said, to keep those brush marks and things visible, so that creates a feeling of detail which separates then the foreground and the background and makes everything feel a bit more three-dimensional. Maybe there's maybe a bit more sense of space in the painting. Again, that's a style choice. That's what I want to do. Other people prefer to have a flatter landscape, a more stylized type of landscape. It's just style. It's just whatever you want to do. But anyway, like I say, it's the first acrylic paintings I've done for many, many years, really. I really enjoyed it, and I want to try a few more in the near future. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, as always, and hopefully see you in the next video.